They say words can't hurt you, but what if that's complete bullshit? What if being nice, staying quiet, letting things slide are just pretty ways of saying you've given up your power? Let me ask you something. When was the last time someone insulted you and you actually felt good about how you handled it? Not just, I took the high road, but genuinely proud, like you just won something? I'm guessing it's been a while. Maybe never. Because here's what nobody tells you. We're living in a world where people will test you every single day, where someone's always ready to see how much crap you'll take. And most of us, we're walking around completely defenseless. We've been taught that being a good person means being a punching bag. Niccolo Machiavelli figured this out 500 years ago. He said something that'll probably piss off your Sunday school teacher. But it's true. People don't respect what they can attack for free. And today, I'm going to show you exactly why every insult that's ever hurt you wasn't really about you at all. It was about them knowing, absolutely knowing, that you wouldn't do anything about it. You're about to learn how to make people regret the day they decided to test you. Let's begin. Imagine this. You're at work, maybe in a meeting, maybe just grabbing coffee, and someone says something. Not even that bad, really. Just a little dig, a small comment about your idea, your clothes, your whatever. But it lands weird. Your stomach drops. Your face gets hot. And you just stand there. Maybe you laugh it off. Maybe you say nothing. Maybe you mumble something that doesn't even make sense. Then you walk away, and that's when it really starts. You replay it over and over. What you should have said. What you could have said. How you look standing there like an idiot. And the worst part? You know they saw it. They saw that moment when you just took it. When you proved that you're safe to mess with. Here's what really happened in that moment. It wasn't just hurt feelings. It wasn't just embarrassment. You just got tested and you failed. Someone threw a punch to see if you'd punch back, and instead, you handed them a bigger stick. Let me show you how Machiavelli saw these moments. He understood that every single interaction is a power game. Every conversation, every comment, every little exchange is someone figuring out where you stand in the pecking order. And insults? They're not random. They're reconnaissance missions. Someone's testing your defenses to see if you have any. Here's the truth that's going to sting. Most people don't get disrespected because they're weak. They get disrespected because they've accidentally trained everyone around them that disrespect is free. No consequences. No pushback. Just easy target practice. Let me take you back. You're 7 years old, maybe 8. Some kid at school calls you stupid or ugly or whatever kids say to hurt each other. You come home crying, and what does every adult tell you? Just ignore them. Don't stoop to their level. Be the bigger person. If you don't react, they'll stop. Except they don't stop, do they? They keep going because you just taught them that you're an easy target. But you're a kid, so you believe the adults. You think being good means taking it. You think strength means staying quiet. So you learn this toxic lesson. Fighting back makes you bad. Staying silent makes you good. Standing up for yourself gets you in trouble, but letting people walk all over you gets you praised. What a mature child, they say. So well-behaved. Fast forward 20 years. You're sitting in that meeting, taking that insult, and you still hear those voices. Be nice. Don't cause drama. Just let it go. And meanwhile, the person who just disrespected you, they learned the opposite lesson. They learned that aggression works. That pushing people around gets results. Here's what's really messed up about this. Every time you swallow an insult, every time you take the high road, you're not just hurting yourself. You're training your brain that you don't deserve respect. You're literally rewiring yourself to accept less and less until someone can say almost anything to you and you'll just smile and nod. Machiavelli saw this pattern everywhere. He watched good people get destroyed by bad people over and over because the good people thought their goodness would protect them. But goodness without boundaries isn't virtue. It's just weakness wearing a costume. And the worst part? The people who keep testing you, who keep pushing your buttons, they don't respect your restraint. They see it as proof that you're not worth respecting. Now, before we go any deeper, I want you to do something. If this is hitting you right now, if you're thinking about that moment when someone disrespected you and you just stood there, hit that subscribe button. Not just because it helps the channel, but because you're not alone in this. There are millions of people who've been taught the same lie, who've been walking around thinking that being a doormat is somehow noble. And here's what I really want you to do. Comment below and tell me about the insult that still bothers you. The one you replay in your head. The moment when someone said something and you wish, God, you wish you had handled it differently. Don't be embarrassed about it. Don't think it makes you weak. You know what makes you weak? Pretending it doesn't matter. Acting like words don't have power when you know damn well they do. The fact that you remember it, the fact that it still stings, that's not weakness. That's your brain telling you something important. You deserved better in that moment, and you didn't get it. Because here's the thing nobody talks about. When someone insults you and gets away with it, it doesn't just hurt your feelings. It changes how they see you. It changes how everyone who witnessed it sees you. And worst of all, it changes how you see yourself. So drop a comment. Tell me what happened. Because acknowledging it isn't dwelling on it. It's the first step to making sure it never happens again. And trust me, after today, you're going to handle these situations so differently that people will wonder what the hell happened to you. Now let me show you the trap. Picture someone walking into a boxing ring, and every time their opponent throws a punch, they just stand there and take it. They think they're being noble. They think they're proving how tough they are. But what's really happening? They're getting their ass kicked while calling it character building. That's what most of us do with insults. We think absorbing them makes us strong. We think not responding makes us mature. But here's the brutal truth. The person throwing those punches doesn't see strength. They see a heavy bag, something to practice on. And here's the irony that'll blow your mind. Real power, the kind that actually stops people from messing with you, is often the quietest thing in the room. It doesn't scream. It doesn't defend. It doesn't explain why the insult was wrong or unfair. It just responds in a way that makes the other person immediately regret their life choices. Real power is in the pause before you speak. It's in the way you look at someone like they just revealed something embarrassing about themselves. It's in asking a question that flips the entire situation and suddenly they're the one explaining themselves. But we don't choose that kind of response because it requires something most people don't have: the ability to think instead of just react. It requires you to see the insult for what it really is, not a statement about you, but information about them. Information you can use. Most people hear an insult and immediately go into defense mode. That's not true. How dare you? I'm not like that. But all of that is just proving that the insult worked. You're dancing to their music. You're playing their game by their rules. The person who really has power, they change the game entirely. They make the insulter realize they just brought a knife to a gunfight, and now everyone's watching them bleed out. Machiavelli once wrote something that'll make your therapist uncomfortable. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. And insults? They're the ultimate test of this principle. Because when someone insults you, they're not really talking about you. They're making a bet about what you'll do next. Let me break this down. You're 5 years old. Some kid pushes you on the playground. You push back, and what happens? You get in trouble. The teacher doesn't care who started it. You learn that defending yourself equals punishment. Meanwhile, the kid who pushed you, he learns that aggression works, and the system will protect him as long as he's smart about it. So your brain files this away. Conflict is dangerous. Standing up for yourself causes problems, and the safest thing to do is just take whatever comes your way. Fast forward to adulthood, and you're still operating from that 5-year-old's playbook. But here's what Machiavelli understood that most people miss. Politeness isn't always virtue. Sometimes it's just fear wearing a nice outfit. When someone disrespects you and you respond with automatic niceness, you're not being the bigger person. You're advertising that you're safe to attack. Think about it. When you smile and nod after someone insults you, what message are you sending? This behavior is acceptable. I won't fight back. You can do this again anytime you want. You've just given them permission to treat you like garbage, and you did it with a smile. Every time you replace strategic thinking with automatic politeness, you lose something. You lose respect in their eyes, sure, but worse than that, you lose respect in your own eyes. Because deep down, you know you just let someone walk all over you, and you help them do it. That sick feeling you get after someone disrespects you and you don't respond? That's not guilt for being mean. That's your self-respect dying a little bit. It's your brain telling you that you just betrayed yourself for the sake of keeping the peace. But whose peace? Theirs. You made their life easier by absorbing their aggression without consequences. Machiavelli saw this pattern destroy good people over and over. They thought their goodness would protect them. They thought being reasonable would make unreasonable people suddenly become reasonable. But bullies don't respect your restraint. They see it as weakness, and weakness invites more aggression. Let me tell you about someone I know. Let's call him Mike. Mike's a good guy, really good guy. The kind of person who holds doors, says please and thank you, never raises his voice. At work, he's the one everyone dumps their extra tasks on because Mike won't mind. In his relationship, his girlfriend makes jokes about him in front of their friends, little cutting remarks that everyone laughs at while Mike just smiles awkwardly. Mike tells himself he's just easygoing. I don't like drama, he says. I'm a peaceful person, but here's what's really happening. Mike's coworker asks him to cover another weekend shift, and Mike says yes even though he's exhausted. His girlfriend jokes that he's boring in bed, and Mike laughs along. His neighbor's dog shits on his lawn every day, and Mike just cleans it up without saying anything. Mike thinks he's being mature. He thinks he's taking the high road. But what he's actually doing is training everyone around him that his time doesn't matter, his feelings don't matter, and his boundaries don't exist. Then one day, Mike snaps. Maybe it's something small. Maybe someone cuts in front of him at the coffee shop, and suddenly he's screaming like a maniac. Everyone's shocked. What's wrong with Mike? He's usually so calm. But Mike isn't calm. Mike's been a pressure cooker for years, and now he's exploding. The worst part? After he loses it, everyone treats him like he's the problem. Mike's been really stressed lately. Mike needs to work on his anger. Nobody connects the dots. Nobody realizes that Mike's explosion was the result of years of swallowing disrespect because he thought that's what good people do. This story isn't rare. It's the hidden story of millions of people who confuse kindness with weakness, who think that having boundaries makes them difficult, who've been taught that standing up for yourself is somehow selfish or wrong. But here's what Mike never learned. Respect isn't something you get for being nice. Respect is something you earn by showing people that disrespecting you has consequences. And until Mike figures that out, he's going to keep attracting people who see him as an easy target. Here's the myth we need to destroy, and it's going to hurt because you've probably been living by it your whole life. You've been told that silence is strength, that turning the other cheek is wisdom, that being the bigger person is always the right choice. But that's bullshit. Sometimes silence is just cowardice with good PR. Let me be clear about what I'm not saying. I'm not telling you to be an asshole. I'm not saying you should go around picking fights or being cruel to people. What I'm saying is that response is a tool, and like any tool, when you don't know how to use it properly, it becomes dangerous. Dangerous to you. When you automatically turn the other cheek every time someone slaps you, you're not being noble. You're training them to keep slapping. When you stay silent every time someone disrespects you, you're not being mature. You're teaching them that your dignity is negotiable. Let's flip this around. Think about the last time someone tried to insult you and it just didn't land. Maybe they said something stupid and you looked at them like they'd just told you the earth was flat. Maybe you responded with something so calm and cutting that they immediately regretted opening their mouth. How did that feel? It felt powerful, didn't it? Not because you were mean, but because you were in control. Because in that moment, you weren't a victim of their words. You were the one deciding what those words meant and how the conversation was going to go. That's what real strength looks like. It's not about absorbing punishment. It's about making punishment too expensive for the other person to afford. When someone knows that insulting you is going to cost them more than it costs you, they stop doing it. It's that simple. But most people never learn this because they think having boundaries makes them difficult. They think standing up for themselves makes them just as bad as the person attacking them. So they keep taking hits, keep absorbing abuse, and wonder why their life feels like a boxing match where they're not allowed to fight back. Here's the truth. Strategic response isn't aggression. It's self-respect with a backbone. Now imagine this. Someone insults you, and instead of that familiar panic, instead of your heart racing and your mind going blank, you feel something else. Calm. Not the fake calm where you're screaming inside, but real calm. The kind that comes from knowing exactly what you're going to do next. You pause, not because you're frozen, but because you're calculating. You look at this person who just tried to hurt you, and instead of seeing an attacker, you see someone who just handed you information. They just told you exactly how they see you, what they think they can get away with, and how much respect they have for you. And now you get to decide what to do with that information. That's what Machiavelli meant by strategic thinking. It's not about being cruel or manipulative. It's about responding with purpose instead of just reacting with emotion. It's about understanding that every insult is actually a test, and you get to choose whether you pass or fail. Most people fail the test because they think it's about defending themselves. That's not true. I'm not like that. How dare you? But that's not the test. The test is, will you let me treat you this way? Will you make this behavior costly for me, or will you make it free? When you respond strategically, you're not trying to prove the insult wrong. You're making it clear that insulting you was a mistake. Maybe you ask a question that exposes their insecurity. Maybe you respond with something so unexpectedly calm that they realize they just revealed more about themselves than about you. Maybe you simply look at them like they just embarrassed themselves, because they did. The goal isn't to destroy them. The goal is to make them think twice before they try this shit again, with you or with anyone else who might be watching. Because here's what most people don't realize. When you handle an insult well, you're not just protecting yourself. You're showing everyone else in the room how it's done. You're giving other people permission to have boundaries too. But you can't get there by memorizing comebacks or trying to be clever. You get there by understanding that respect isn't given, it's commanded. And you command it by making disrespect expensive. So what does this actually look like in real life? Let me give you some examples that you can use tomorrow. Someone says something insulting to you. Instead of defending yourself, you pause and ask, why would you say that? Not angry, not defensive, just genuinely curious. Watch what happens. Suddenly, they're the one explaining themselves. They're the one who looks like an asshole. You just flip the entire situation by making them justify their behavior. Or try this one. Someone insults you, and you respond with, that's an interesting way to see it. Then you just look at them. Don't explain why it's wrong. Don't defend yourself. Just let that hang in the air. They just revealed something ugly about themselves, and now everyone knows it. Here's another one that's brutal in its simplicity. Someone tries to insult you, and you just say, okay, that's it. Not, okay, like you're hurt. Okay, like you just heard someone say they don't like pizza. Like their opinion is so irrelevant that it doesn't even register as an attack. The key to all of these is that you're not playing their game. They want you to get defensive, to prove them wrong, to give them a reaction they can feed off. Instead, you're changing the rules. You're making them look foolish for even trying. But here's the hidden truth that most people miss. Real power isn't in having the perfect comeback. It's in making them regret starting the fight in the first place. It's in responding in a way that makes them think, shit, I picked the wrong person to mess with. The best response to an insult isn't the one that makes you look smart. It's the one that makes them look stupid. And usually, that means staying calm while they lose their composure, asking questions while they make statements, and treating their attack like the desperate move it actually is. Because that's what insults really are. They're not statements of fact. They're desperate attempts to make you feel as small as the person saying them feels inside. Let me give you a moment to pause here. If this message has awakened something inside you, if you're sitting there thinking about all the times you let someone walk all over you good, that uncomfortable feeling, that's not shame. That's power waking up. Real change doesn't feel comfortable. It feels like you're breaking a rule you didn't even know you were following. It feels like you're betraying the good person you thought you were supposed to be. But here's what that really is. It's you realizing that being good doesn't mean being weak. You've got a choice to make right now. A simple one, but not an easy one. Are you going to keep absorbing disrespect in the name of being nice? Are you going to keep training people that your dignity is negotiable? Or are you going to start commanding the respect you deserve? Because here's what Machiavelli understood that most people don't. Respect and fear aren't opposites. They're partners. When people know that disrespecting you will cost them something, they respect you. When they know they can attack you for free, they don't. This isn't about becoming mean. This isn't about turning into someone you don't recognize. This is about understanding that kindness without boundaries isn't kindness at all. It's just weakness wearing a costume. The person who really has power doesn't need to prove it by being cruel. They prove it by making it clear that testing them is a bad idea. They don't go looking for fights, but when fights come looking for them, they end them quickly and decisively. So what's it going to be? Are you going to keep being everyone's favorite target? Or are you going to become someone people think twice before messing with? Now here's the climax, the final myth that's been screwing you over your entire life. You've been told that taking insults makes you strong, that absorbing abuse makes you noble, that letting people walk all over you somehow makes you a better person. But that's the biggest lie ever sold to good people. Strength isn't about how much punishment you can take. Any punching bag can take punishment. Strength is about making punishment too expensive for people to afford. It's about creating a world where people think twice before they decide to test you. You've been living by this backwards definition of power, where the person who gets hit the most is somehow winning. But that's not power. That's just being a victim with good marketing. Real power is when people treat you with respect, not because they have to, but because disrespecting you would cost them more than they're willing to pay. Here's what's going to blow your mind. People treat you exactly how you train them to treat you. Every single person in your life is operating based on the lessons you've taught them about what's acceptable. Your boss talks down to you because you've shown them that's okay. Your friends make jokes at your expense because you've laughed along. Your family dismisses your opinions because you've never made it costly for them to do so. But the moment you change the training, everything changes. The moment you start responding strategically instead of just absorbing, people suddenly discover manners they forgot they had. It's amazing how respectful people become when they realize that disrespecting you isn't free anymore. And here's what's really going to mess with people. This new version of you is going to make some folks uncomfortable. The people who built their relationship with you on the foundation of your weakness are going to hate your strength. They're going to say you've changed, that you're not the same person, that you've become difficult. They're right. You have changed. You've stopped being their emotional punching bag, and they don't like it. Good. Their comfort was built on your discomfort, and that deal is officially over. The people who matter, the people worth keeping in your life, are going to respect this new boundary-having version of you. They might be surprised at first, but they'll adapt. Because healthy people don't need you to be weak for them to feel strong.